Soldat. Soldat, meaning soldier, was the absolute bottom of the Nazi army hierarchy. Standardized in 1935, after Germany reinstated conscription, these men wore no rank insignia whatsoever, earning them the label Unicorn without insignia. In the trenches, they were called something else: Frontschwein, or front pig. They handled rifle duty, trench digging, guard posts, and supply runs with zero leadership authority. Promotion to the next rank took 6 to 12 months, based purely on survival and basic performance. The SS called them Schütze, the Luftwaffe called them Flieger, and the Navy called them Matros. But in the army, Soldat meant one thing: expendable. Gefreiter. Gefreiter Lance Corporal was the first step up from Soldat, sitting just below Obergefreiter. Formalized in 1935 during Germany's rapid rearmament, it became one of the most common ranks throughout World War II as soldiers gained basic combat experience. Gefreiters wore a single downward-pointing chevron on the upper left sleeve of their field tunic. Promotion was typically automatic after 6 to 12 months of service, based on discipline, survival, and unit needs. No formal leadership evaluation required. They continued frontline duties as riflemen, machine gunners, or grenadiers, but were often trusted with technical roles like driving, messaging, or operating field radios. While they held no command authority, the rank symbolized reliability. The SS equivalent was Sturmmann. The Navy had Matrosengefreiter, but in the Army, Gefreiter simply marked a soldier who had earned their place. Obergefreiter. Obergefreiter Senior Lance Corporal ranked above Gefreiter and below Hauptgefreiter in the Nazi Army. Widely used during World War II, it recognized reliable soldiers with over a year of service. Promotion required good conduct and a superior's recommendation, not just time served. They wore 2 chevrons on the upper left sleeve. Though they held no formal command, Obergefreiters often handled key support duties like equipment operation or logistics. In practice, they were the dependable core of many squads the soldiers' officers knew they could count on. The SS equivalent was Rottenführer. The Navy had Obermatros. But in the Army, Obergefreiter meant seasoned experience. Hauptgefreiter. Hauptgefreiter, Chief Lance Corporal, or Senior Corporal, was introduced in 1940 during World War II to recognize long-serving enlisted soldiers who hadn't yet entered the non-commissioned officer tier. It ranked above Obergefreiter and below Stabsgefreiter. Insignia consisted of 2 chevrons with a pip or additional stitching worn on the upper sleeve. Promotion required extended frontline service, solid discipline, and approval from commanding officers. While they held no command, Hauptgefreiters often acted as informal squad mentors, drivers, signal operators, or machine gun assistants. The SS equivalent was Unterscharführer. The Navy had Matrosenhauptgefreiter. In the Army, Hauptgefreiter meant trusted veteran. Stabsgefreiter, Stabsgefreiter Staff, Lance Corporal, was the highest enlisted rank below the non-commissioned officer tier, positioned above Hauptgefreiter. It was introduced during World War II to reward soldiers with extended service and consistent discipline, typically after several years on the front. The insignia featured 2 chevrons with a central pip, clearly distinguishing it from lower enlisted ranks. Promotion was selective and based on long-term reliability rather than leadership potential. While Stabsgefreiters held no command authority, they often served as senior riflemen, technical assistants, or administrative aides. The SS equivalent was Sturmscharführer. The Navy had Matrosenhauptgefreiter. In the Army, Stabsgefreiter represented the peak of enlisted experience. Unteroffizier. Unteroffizier, sub-officer or junior sergeant, was the first non-commissioned officer rank in the Nazi Army, positioned above Stabsgefreiter and below Feldwebel. It marked a formal shift into leadership with responsibilities over small groups of enlisted men. The insignia included silver braid on the collar and shoulder straps with a single pip. Promotion required several years of service, demonstrated leadership ability, and completion of NCO training. Unteroffiziers led squads, supervised discipline, and reported directly to senior NCOs. Though low in the command chain, they were essential to frontline unit cohesion, the first line of authority between soldiers and officers. The SS equivalent was Unterscharführer. The Navy had Bootsman. In the Army, Unteroffizier meant you finally had real power. Feldwebel. Feldwebel sergeant was a mid-level, non-commissioned officer, rank in the Nazi German Army, positioned above Unteroffizier and below Oberfeldwebel. It was a long-established rank in German military tradition and became critical during World War II as squad leaders and platoon deputies. Feldwebels wore a silver shoulder braid with 1 or 2 pips and collar tabs bordered with silver tresses. Promotion required strong leadership in the field and excellent service records. They commanded squads or support sections, maintained discipline, and executed tactical orders from officers. The SS equivalent was Scharführer. The Navy had Oberbootsmann. In practice, Feldwebels were the Army's backbone, the ones who kept units functioning under fire. Oberfeldwebel senior sergeant ranked above Feldwebel and below Stabsfeldwebel in the Nazi Army. It was awarded to experienced NCOs who had shown leadership in combat and unit management. The insignia was similar to Feldwebel but typically included additional pips or service braid to mark seniority. Promotion required several years as a Feldwebel and consistent performance in leading squads or platoon-sized units. Oberfeldwebels often acted as deputy platoon leaders or managed logistics and training for their companies. The SS equivalent was Oberscharführer. The Navy had Stabsoberbootsmann. They were trusted field leaders with high operational responsibility the senior NCO's officers relied on to get things done. Stabsfeldwebel Staff Sergeant was one of the highest non-commissioned officer ranks in the Nazi Army, positioned above Oberfeldwebel and just below Hauptfeldwebel. Introduced in 1938, it was reserved for veteran NCOs with over 10 to 12 years of exemplary service. The insignia included silver braid with multiple pips and sometimes service loops. Promotion required long-term leadership, tactical competence, and command loyalty. Stabsfeldwebels typically acted as company-level senior advisors, training coordinators, or logistical overseers. They didn't command units directly, but ensured frontline efficiency and operational readiness. The SS equivalent was Hauptscharführer. The Navy had Stabsoberfeldwebel. They embodied institutional experience, the NCOs who had seen everything. Hauptfeldwebel Company's Sergeant Major was not a formal rank but an appointment held by the most senior NCO within a company in the Nazi German Army. It sat functionally above Stabsfeldwebel and below commissioned officers. Introduced officially during World War II, the position came with significant authority over discipline, daily routines, and internal administration. The insignia included standard Feldwebel-style braid, often with a distinctive double tressa on the cuffs. Appointment required extensive service, strong leadership, and the commander's trust. Hauptfeldwebels were nicknamed Spieß, meaning spear, a traditional German Army term for the top NCO. The SS equivalent was Sturmscharführer. The Navy had Kompaniefeldwebel. In the Army, Hauptfeldwebel meant you ran the company, officers gave orders, but you made them happen. Lieutenant was the lowest commissioned officer rank in the Nazi German Army, positioned directly above Hauptfeldwebel and below Oberleutnant. It was typically assigned to young officers fresh from military academies or officer candidate schools. The insignia featured a single silver star pip on silver-braided shoulder boards. Promotion to lieutenant required successful completion of officer training and selection by higher command. Lieutenants commanded platoons of 30 to 50 men and were responsible for tactical leadership, discipline, and mission execution. The SS equivalent was Untersturmführer. The Navy had Lieutenant zur See. Lieutenants often faced frontline combat early in their careers, young, inexperienced, and suddenly responsible for dozens of lives. Oberleutnant, senior lieutenant, ranked above lieutenant and below Hauptmann in the Nazi German Army. It was typically held by officers with 2 to 3 years of experience, often promoted from lieutenant after proven leadership in combat. The insignia featured 2 silver pips on silver-braided shoulder boards. Oberleutnants served as platoon commanders, executive officers in companies, or occasionally as acting company commanders. Promotion was based on time in service and performance evaluations. The SS equivalent was Obersturmführer. The Navy had Oberleutnant zur See. These officers often played pivotal roles in unit coordination during field operations, experienced enough to lead effectively, but still young enough to be on the front lines. Hauptmann Captain was a company-grade officer rank in the Nazi German Army, positioned above Oberleutnant and below Major. Officers at this level typically commanded a company of 100 to 200 soldiers, holding full responsibility for combat readiness, logistics, training, and discipline. The insignia featured 3 silver pips on silver-braided shoulder boards. Promotion required successful leadership as an Oberleutnant and strong evaluations in the field. Hauptmanns played critical roles in executing tactical missions and coordinating with higher command. The SS equivalent was Hauptsturmführer. The Navy had Kapitänleutnant. Hauptmanns formed the backbone of frontline leadership across the German Army, the officers who turned strategic orders into battlefield action. Major was the first field officer rank in the Nazi German Army, positioned above Hauptmann and below Oberstleutnant. Majors typically served as battalion executive officers, staff officers at regiment level, or commanders of specialized support units. Their insignia featured silver braid with a thick outer edge and one gold pip on each shoulder board. Promotion required years of successful command experience and selection by higher staff. Majors coordinated tactics, oversaw training, and managed logistics on a larger scale than company officers. The SS equivalent was Sturmbannführer. The Navy had Korvettenkapitän. Majors bridged frontline command with higher strategy. They translated orders from generals into actionable plans for hundreds of soldiers. Oberstleutnant. Oberstleutnant lieutenant colonel, ranked above major and below Oberst in the Nazi army. Officers at this level typically commanded battalions of 500 to 1,000 soldiers or served as executive officers in regiments or brigades. The insignia featured silver shoulder braid with 2 gold pips. Promotion required years of senior officer service, proven leadership in the field, and often staff-level training. Oberstleutnants balanced tactical command with administrative oversight, handling, planning, logistics, and operational execution. The SS equivalent was Obersturmbannführer. The Navy had Fregattenkapitän. They played a key role in connecting high command directives with frontline units, translating strategy into orders that battalion commanders could execute. Oberst colonel was the highest field officer rank in the Nazi army, positioned above Oberstleutnant and below general major. Obersts typically commanded regiments consisting of several battalions or held senior staff positions at division level. Their insignia featured silver-braided shoulder boards with 3 gold pips. Promotion required extensive military experience, exemplary service, and strategic leadership ability. They oversaw operations, planning, and logistics across large formations and coordinated with both subordinate commanders and general staff. The SS equivalent was Standartenführer. The Navy had Kapitän zur See. Obersts served as the critical link between frontline action and upper command, the last rank before entering the general officer elite. General Major. General Major, Major General, was the lowest general officer rank in the Nazi German army, positioned above Oberst and below Generalleutnant. Officers at this level typically commanded divisions of 10,000 to 15,000 troops or held senior staff roles within Army Corps. The insignia included a gold shoulder board interwoven with silver cord and 1 silver star. Promotion was based on long-term officer service, outstanding battlefield leadership, and appointment by high command. General majors planned large-scale operations, coordinated logistics, and oversaw subordinate regiments. The SS equivalent was Brigadeführer. The Navy had Konteradmiral. This rank marked entry into the general staff elite, no longer managing battles, but directing entire campaigns. Generalleutnant. Generalleutnant, lieutenant general, ranked above general major and below General der Infanterie and other branch-specific generals in the Nazi army. Officers at this level typically commanded Army Corps or served as deputy commanders of field armies. The insignia featured a gold and silver braided shoulder board with 2 silver stars. Promotion required distinguished service at division level, advanced staff training, and appointment by high command. Generalleutnants oversaw multi-division operations, strategic planning, and coordination of large-scale campaigns. The SS equivalent was Gruppenführer. The Navy had Vice-Admiral. This rank held significant authority in directing the war effort, commanding tens of thousands of troops across entire sectors of the front. General der Infanterie. General der Infanterie, General of the Infantry, was one of several branch-specific 3-star general ranks in the Nazi German army, sitting above Generalleutnant and below Generaloberst. Other variants included General der Panzertruppe for armored troops, General der Artillerie for artillery, and more. Officers at this level typically commanded full Army Corps or served in high-level staff positions. The insignia featured gold and silver braided shoulder boards with 3 silver stars. Promotion required decades of service, battlefield excellence, and political trust. The SS equivalent was Obergruppenführer. The Navy had Admiral. These generals shaped campaign-level strategy across entire fronts, deciding where armies moved, when offensives began, and how resources were allocated. Generaloberst. Generaloberst Colonel General was the second highest rank in the Nazi German army, positioned above General der Infanterie and directly below Generalfeldmarschall. Officers at this level typically commanded entire field armies or held senior strategic roles within the Army High Command, OKH. The insignia consisted of heavily braided gold and silver shoulder boards with a thick outer edge and 3 silver pips. Promotion required exceptional military leadership, long service, and trust from Hitler himself. The SS equivalent was Oberstgruppenführer. The Navy had General Admiral. Generalobersts directed major theaters of war and helped shape overall German military doctrine, commanding hundreds of thousands of troops across multiple fronts. Generalfeldmarschall. Generalfeldmarschall Field Marshal was the highest regular rank in the Nazi German army, positioned above Generaloberst. It was typically awarded by Adolf Hitler as a personal honor for commanding major victories or entire army groups. The insignia featured crossed batons on the shoulder boards with elaborate gold-silver braiding and a national eagle emblem. Promotion was by direct appointment from Hitler, not through standard evaluation. Field marshals had sweeping authority over hundreds of thousands of troops across entire fronts. There was no SS equivalent. In the Navy, the counterpart was Gross Admiral. This rank represented the pinnacle of German military prestige, the absolute top of the command structure, answerable only to Hitler himself. The rank structure remained largely unchanged until Germany's surrender in 1945. But understanding how it worked explains how millions followed orders no matter what those orders were. Now, listen to my command, Soldat. Like this video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.